War Pugs, here we are with Tasting History with Max Miller. Guys, I have said it before and I'll say it again. You should pick up Tasting History with Max Miller's book, which is called Tasting Hicks. It's called Tasting History, and it's written by Max Miller. It's kind of hard to mess this one up, War Pugs, and I just did it. Anyhow, guys, we're going to be looking at an ancient recipe here for Roman mussels, okay? And this is called something. I don't know. Apicius or something, okay? We've seen him make garum. We've seen him make so many other things. I can't wait until I have the chance to actually try some of the recipes for his cookbook. I've actually been holding off on trying anything from it because I want to set the camera in there and actually film the thing. We're gonna see. I might do it on stream one night. That'd be fun. We're gonna jump right into this, War Pugs. Check out Max Miller. Please subscribe to Max Miller. It'll be a lot of fun for you guys. You get to learn some history. You get to learn how to make some good eats. Let's get into this, War Pugs. All links are going to be in the description down below. Let's go. It helps if he's not muted. It just helps if he's not muted.
In Mitulis, ancient Roman mussels. Not those mussels.
Wait, what did he say?
In Mitulis.
In Mitris.
Ancient Roman mussels. Not those mussels. These mussels. Today we are cooking from the oldest surviving cookbook in the West, Apicius's De Coquinaria, or On the Subject of Cooking.
Yay.
Dating from the 4th century, it gives us a glimpse into what Romans were eating at the height and during the decline of the Roman Empire. So today I'll show you how to make one of its simpler recipes, and we will look at the history of this most important ancient cookbook.
Cool.
This time on Tasting History.
Let's rock. Why did the Magusta...
Mix liquamen, chopped leek, cumin, possum, savory, and wine. Dilute the mixture with water and cook the mussels in it.
That sounds simple. That sounds simple enough. But what is possum?
Seems pretty straightforward, as long as you have all of the ingredients.
True.
There are two that are probably missing from your cupboard. First, liquamen. Now, by the 4th century, liquamen had become synonymous with garum, or ancient Roman fermented fish sauce.
Yay!
We made a quick version of that last week, and I will put a link in the description if you want to make it yourself.
Now, his quick version, he did both versions, and we've seen both. The quick version, he regretted because his whole house probably English probably still smells like fish at this point when he's recording this. Poor guy.
Now, if you don't feel like making your own garum at home and making your house smell like fish for an entire week, then you can, of course, use colatura di alici, and I'll put a link in the description to where you can buy that online, or any of the Eastern Asian fish sauces that you can get at an Asian market. Now, those sauces are going to be slightly different than an ancient Roman garum. They use different types of fish, they use different amounts of salt and different herbs, but that's okay because, frankly, the kind that we made last week is not the traditional fermented garum either, which takes months to make, and you're probably not going to do that at home. The second ingredient you probably don't have is possum, not to be confused with this little scamp.
Look at that little guy. He's just a little guy. He doesn't know whether to be happy or startled.
Possum was a thick, sweet wine originally from Carthage.
Oh.
It's made with dried grapes or raisins and grape must. And someday I would love to make it, but for today, I'll pass him.
Really? You did that level of dad pun. Wow.
Instead, I'll use probably the closest thing that you can find today, which is Vinsanto. But you can use any kind of sweet fortified wine from Spain or Portugal or Italy. They're all going to work just fine.
Sweet.
So with those ingredients or their alternatives in mind, here's what you'll need. 2 pounds of live mussels, 1 tablespoon of either the liquamen, garum, or fish sauce, 1/8 of a cup of possum or one of your sweet wines, 1/4 of a cup of dry white wine, or more. I ended up using probably closer to 1/2 a cup. We just need to get some liquid in there. You can do water or more wine. I chose
wine. I actually cook with, so I do, strangely enough, know how to cook some dishes. I do know how to cook some dishes. I like cooking with wine. What can I say?
There's more wine. 1 cup of chopped leek, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, a half teaspoon of dried savory.
I'm jealous of his
I'll link to that in the
bowls.
description as well. And then some water, about 3/4 of a cup. And like I said, you could use more wine or more water. It's all going to depend on the size of pot you have, because you just want to have that much liquid on the bottom. So we'll get there. First, make sure to wash and clean your mussels. Now, when you get those mussels home, if any of them are open, give them a little squeeze. If they close on their own, great. If they don't, chuck them out.
Right.
They're dead. Also, some of your mussels might have these little strings on them called a beard. Pull that off. You don't need it. It's where the mussel would have latched onto a rock or whatever. Then in a large pot, mix all of the ingredients, your wine and liquamen and herbs and spices, and the water. And here's where you want to make sure that there's about a half an inch of liquid at least, because you don't want it to completely boil away. So go ahead and add more wine or water or whatever you want. Then place the pot over medium-high heat.
He just went southern right there. Whatever you want.
And wait until it starts to simmer. Once it's simmering, add your mussels and put a lid over the pot for about 5 minutes. Now while your mussels steam, go ahead and pour yourself a glass of that wine, and let's take a look at how this recipe came down to us after more than 1,500 years.
Now, one thing that I actually remember is when I was a kid, we would go fishing, and we would always go after mussels. We would go after mussels for bait, and I just remember just being a kid, just going down to the lakeside and gathering mussels up to crack them, and using the mussel for catfish bait. I mean, I don't know if anybody else did that, but I know I did. Yes! Yes! Okay.
I often lament the fact that more recipes from antiquity haven't made it to us. But if we're only afforded one cookbook, for lack of a better term, I'm sure glad that it is the Apicius Dere Coquinaria. And that's because of the breadth of recipes that it includes. I mean, you've got your recipes for the average Josephus, like plain leek or roasted parsley puree. But then you go all the way up to the most lavish dishes like fried spiced peacock rissoles. Now the book as it comes to us today is actually from 2 9th century manuscripts that were copied. Okay. And they were probably copied from the original 4th century manuscript when the Roman Empire was, still chugging along.
This actually, a lot of the monks did a lot of copying, and it's so wild when you actually look at something like this right here. Writing was a form of art. Not many people could do it. Writing was unessential for most people, and it was a central pillar of power to others. So when they actually made these books, the monks actually made these books, they turned them into these literal works of art, because to them that's what it was. And we kind of overlook that these days, which is actually kind of sad.
The first was created in Tours, France, and now resides in the Vatican. And it's covered in highly illuminated decorative manuscript, so probably not meant to be used in the kitchen. The second version is a little bit more practical and was copied by 7 monks at a monastery in Fulda, Germany, and can now be seen at the New York Academy of Medicine. Now there's actually kind of a third version as well. It's actually the earliest one and is a highly abbreviated version called the Apicius Excerpta a Vinidario, or a Pocket Apicius by an illustrious man named Vinidarius, who was probably an Ostrogoth living shortly after the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century.
Hooray!
Now one of my favorite things about the Dere Coquinaria is that it has something that is missing from most recipe manuscripts really for like the next 1,000 years. And that is a table of contents. What a novel idea.
Yeah.
Or rather, what a reference book idea. It's neatly divided into 10 liber, or books, starting with Epimelis, the careful housekeeper. Or at least that's how it's translated by Barbara Fowler and Elizabeth Rosenbaum in the Roman Cookery Book. Link in the description. It's a great book. Also, I kind of love that translation because it reminds me of one of those now super outdated commercials from the 1950s. The careful housekeeper is something every good wife should have in her kitchen to keep the home running smoothly for her husband.
Yes, the careful housekeeper. Why don't you pick one up today at local retailers?
So what kinds of things do we find in The Careful Housekeeper? Recipes, of course. There's one for spiced wine surprise.
Yay.
And for Roman vermouth. Perfect for that 3 o'clock martini. But then
Yes, the 3 o'clock martini. Get yourself one right now.
also non-recipes. Things like instructions for how to keep grapes fresh, or turn salted meat sweet, or one of my favorites, to make an ounce of silphium last indefinitely. And someday I want to do an entire episode on silphium because it is now known as the lost Roman aphrodisiac. But I digress.
Okay.
There are also instructions, which I would really like to try someday, on how to turn red wine into white wine. It involves adding egg whites and bean meal to the wine and leaving it overnight.
Huh.
1, not sure if it works.
Right.
So I'd like to try. 2, why would you ever want to do that unless maybe your villa had just had new white marble put down?
Who knows?
I don't know. But I think my favorite instruction from The Careful Housekeeper is Ut mel malum bonum facias. How to make bad honey good. You will make bad honey good for selling as follows.
Okay.
Mix 1 part of bad honey with 2 parts of good honey. That's it. It doesn't seem quite right.
Somebody's running a scam.
A shystery, but interesting. The other 9 books are marked by ingredients or style of dish. You've got The Meat Mincer, which is all about making rissoles and sausages. The Gardener, which of course is about fruits and vegetables. There's a book on fish, a book on birds, and one book called Tetrapus, which means the quadruped. I like that name. The book also includes some kind of home remedy medicinal type instructions. One for urticae, or stinging nettles, says, take the wild nettle when the sun is in the sign of Aries against illness if you wish. I don't think I trust that, because first, it doesn't specify what kind of illness this is for, and second,
Explosive diarrhea.
that little addendum, the if you wish at the end, it's like he's trying to, not get sued for malpractice. Here's a prescription. Take 8 of these each night if you wish, and if it kills you, that's on you.
Don't worry about it. It's just fun.
Now, as I said before, Detta Coquinaria has recipes that run the gamut, from your simple pottage that any family, poor middle-class family could make, all the way up to the most opulent dishes that only the very, very wealthy and frankly adventurous diner would want to try. There's a recipe for a sauce specifically to be used on boiled ostrich. There are instructions on how to truss and serve flamingo, sow's udder stuffed with sea urchin, and there's even a recipe for how best to serve dormouse.
Why?
Now, it may seem an odd juxtaposition going from boiled ham on one page to dormouse on the next, but that's because the recipes didn't come from one source. There were many sources that made up this book. See, the De Coquinaria is attributed to Apicius, but if Apicius had any recipes in this book, it was probably only those most lavish and kind of weird.
Okay.
Most of them came from later cookbooks and books on agriculture. So why did Apicius get all the credit? And frankly, who was this guy?
Steve Jobs of the ancient world.
In the 1st century, during the reign of Tiberius, there are several accounts of a man named Marcus Gavius Apicius.
Okay.
He was known for being quite the food lover, to the point of ostentatious gluttony. But it seems that anyone who was anyone in ancient Rome at the time, consuls, senators, advisors to the emperor, getting an invitation to dinner at Apicius's villa was a must.
Nice.
Food was his thing. He wrote several cookbooks that stayed in circulation for centuries, and Pliny credits him for devising a method to make something like foie gras, but from pigs, by feeding the pigs dried figs and then slaughtering them via an overdose of honeyed wine. Apicius also advised that
if you're going to go out, going out lit is okay.
the best way to serve red mullet was to drown it in a bath of fish sauce made from other red mullet, which seems a little like psychopathic to me.
Little bit.
I don't want to impose my modern values on historical figures. Still seems creepy.
A
He
little
swore that
bit.
flamingo's tongue, most superb, and he advised Drusus, who was the son of the Emperor Tiberius, that he should not eat cabbage tops because they were for the commoners. Frankly, this guy kind of seems like an ass.
He does.
But I think that my favorite story of Apicius is that when he heard someone boast that the shrimp from the Libyan coast were larger and sweeter than those in his own hometown of Miniturne, Apicius hired a boat, sailed across the Mediterranean Sea, and when he got there, some fishermen showed him their catch, and he was just like, meh, I've seen bigger, and turned his boat right around, didn't even get out. Sadly, all of
This guy was a dick.
this opulence led to quite the tragic end for poor Apicius. As Seneca wrote, having spent a fortune of 100 million sestertii on his kitchen, spent all the gifts he had received from the imperial court, and thus swallowed up his income in lavish hospitality, Apicius found that he had only 10 million sestertii left. Afraid of dying in relative poverty, he poisoned himself.
Wow.
Now, while it's always hard to do like an exact exchange rate from ancient money to modern money, 10 million sestertii would still be like between $3 and $5 million. So killing yourself over it, kind of a drama
A
queen.
little bit.
Anyway, after his death, the name Apicius became synonymous with opulence and a love of food. And that's why 300 years later, when the De Recoquinaria was written, the author gives full credit to that first century gourmand. Now, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, let's get back to the mussels. After about
Really, brah?
5 minutes, take a look, and if most of the mussels have opened, you're good to go.
Yay!
Now, if they haven't, give them another minute, but you want to make sure that any mussels that haven't opened, you don't eat. They're dead. But once they are ready, go ahead and take the pot off the heat and
Well, they were dead before you put them in there.
dish up your mussels. Nice to include a little broth with them.
Yay.
All right, here we go. In Mitulis, ancient Roman mussels. Let's give them a shot. So if you don't have one of those fancy little forks that they have at restaurants, which I don't, then what I do is I actually use one of the shells, click to pull out the mussel from the other shell, like so.
There we go.
And you can eat it. They're nice. Really, you're getting a lot of the mussel flavor. I mean, the liquamen or garum, I mean, it adds salt to it. It definitely, you know, kind of tastes a little oceany, but it's not fishy at all. I do wish I had some butter. I miss butter.
Yeah.
But they're really, really quite good. I can and will be eating this entire bowl.
There you
I
go.
look forward to making more of Apicius's recipes, and if you have one that you want to see me do, just let me know in the comments. Maybe steer away from the dormouse and flamingo, but
Yes.
you never know. So make sure to hit that like button, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
It's good stuff. I'm telling you guys, I like this channel just because of you just get to see what people ate back in the day, which was a Tuesday. But even more so than that, I'm a big fan of just knowing how people lived. Knowing how people lived is huge for me. It's one of the things that really I like. The last thing from Many Minutemen when we checked out was so cool for that regard, because we learned about the demon bowls that they would plant, you know, the traditions that they had. Guys, Tasting History with Max Miller, or just Tasting History by Max Miller. Go ahead and pick yourself up that. It's going to be in the description down below. Recommend that you check it out. Hopefully one of these days I will actually not suck and be able to record myself making something from that cookbook. We're still trying to figure things out over here. It will be what it is. But guys, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I will catch you guys next time. All links are going to be in the description below. Join as a member of Patreon, and I'll catch you guys later.